I found out my dad is gay and has been cheating on my mom with another man. What have you found out about someone that you would never tell them you know? Welcome back to another story time. Once again it's your boy Andrew, the best storytime narrator in the game. If we haven't met before, thanks for joining, and since you're already here, why not like the video, subscribe, and ring the bell button so that you don't miss any more NSFW storytimes with me. Let's get this show on the road and start the storytime. One of those porn sidebar ads used a picture of one of my friends. My friend doesn't really have a 1080p monitor, even though he thinks it is. Something I would never tell my ex. I always knew the exact moment she fell asleep because she would fart. I come from a very religious family, and through Snapchat's recommended friends from my contacts, found out my cousin runs a fairly popular porn account. I know of a single mom struggling to pay bills. Her ex-husband quit his job so he doesn't pay child support. She drives over to the next state to strip for money. I know she's ashamed and I'd never tell her or anyone else. She's trying to finish school while working another job too. Found out a few years ago that a friend's sister is really his mother and that his parents are really his grandparents. His real mom was so young that they took the baby in and raised him for their own, so as not to spoil her future. They are all kind of messed up now, unfortunately. Found out that one of my best friends is an illegal immigrant and is totally unaware of it. Slept over one night, went to grab a drink from the kitchen, and her parents were talking about how they might bring it up to her since she was getting older. The irony is that she frequently talks about how illegal immigrants should immigrate legally and that it's unfair her parents had to spend the time and money to get here the right way. When I first got married, my sister-in-law was living with us. One day, while she was at work, she called and asked that I email something to her from her desktop. This was prior to texting and email on phones being so prevalent. So, I used her laptop and her Outlook to send the attachment. I checked the sent items to make sure it went through with the attachment and found an email she had sent to someone of a bunch of pictures of her with lit candles shoved up her ass. I never said anything but had to start hiding all of our stick candles in fear that she'd ass tip all my Yankees. Discovered that my uncle impregnated a woman just after World War II in Germany, and he got sent back to the States before the little girl was born. He then married his high school sweetheart and has never acknowledged the German woman and her baby girl, even though she sent many letters, which my grandmother kept. Now his 3 kids, my cousins, have no knowledge of their older sister over in Germany. I'm in a fantasy football league at work. I was over in RFF and saw a post that was identical to a question my work buddy asked me that day. Looked at his username and he used his real first name. Checked his user history, and yup, it was him. Instead of spoiling it with a "ha, gotcha buddy." Right then and there, I've been following his posts and giving him bad advice on drops he should make and lopsided trades he should specifically make with me. This all started 2 years ago, and he's since dropped out of contention and is now a basement dwelling bottom feeder at about 9th or 10th place. Reddit. Not safe for work leagues, Motherdicker. Strange guy started at my job. Told us he was famous from the state he was from, radio show host, this and that. I decided to do some Googling. Turns out he was taking upskirt photos of underage girls at Walmart. Got arrested and sentenced to prison. He was fired from the radio show, wife left him and took his millions, and all that happened January 2016. Figured he moved to my tiny town to escape all that from his hometown. Edit, he's a rather cool guy, always has a little bottle of liquor, and he knows so much about music it's insane. He's from Palm Beach. Edit 2. By cool guy I mean he's super easy to get along with, and if you didn't Google his ass you'd probably like him. Edit 3. He had several businesses and lots of investments to earn the millions according to him. All this info is a mix between things he's told me personally and what I read online. I know that one of my best friends from high school college had sex with his sister for an extended period of time. I actually sort of on and off dated her for a while, and during that time he got really weird. Of course at the time I assumed it was just a "hey you're banging my sister this is awkward" kind of thing. Later on he and I were roommates, and she and I had long since stopped any romantic interests. I used to work Saturday mornings pretty much every week. However, one week I was off and I guess he thought I was gone. I came downstairs and was trying to find him to see if he wanted to do anything that day. It ended up he was in the basement bathroom, where we usually showered and stuff. Before I realized that, I went in his room where his computer was, and there was a list of files pulled up in one window, dating over about a 3-year period. In another window there was a video up that he was obviously editing, and it was very clearly him ducking his sister in the very room I was standing in. All the files were named stuff like me and Brianna 12/16/2004 and stuff like that, making it pretty clear. I ran back upstairs and stayed in bed for a while. A bummy kid we had to gently eject from a gallery opening spent his exit begging for a few bucks, offering to suck anyone's dick for $10. It was an odd moment anyway, capped by an odd sad offer. Later, I went out on the fire escape for a smoke. In the alley below was a straight acquaintance, like square straight, married with kids and a boring career. He's leaning against the wall, bum guy's head bobbing against his crotch, getting a $10 beach from a sketchy tweaker. My first instinct was to make some noise, my second was, I just don't want to be involved in this. Of course, upon re-entering the party, the acquaintance's wife was the first goddamn person who spoke to me. "Hey, have you seen Bob? Is he out sneaking a smoke?" It was a weird moment. I've said nothing for a decade. That the man I call my dad isn't really my dad, but someone my mom met shortly after I was born. My mom was raped, and that's how I was conceived. I only found out from a family friend's son since we are the same age. My parents have never talked to me about it, and I'm terrified of bringing it up to them for my mom's sake. Edit. Thanks so much everyone for the positive words. Yes, I do consider the man who raised me to be my dad. I think it takes a special person to do what he did in accepting my mom and me and raising me as if he was my dad. Even though him and my mom recently had a child together, I was very surprised when he never shifted his attention to his child and instead treated us the same. The person knows I know, but I would never tell my family. When my cousin was 5 or 6, he was not part of our family yet. My uncle met his mom and they fell in love and moved in with each other. My cousin was still with his dad and my uncle and aunt were trying to get custody, but her ex was a very wealthy man. Apparently he was also sexually abusing my cousin, but it was hard to prove, and her ex had some really good lawyers. My uncle was not a rich man, but they needed money for a lawyer and a special therapist for my cousin, so they could win the case. He robbed his workplace for the cash to pay all the fees needed to get my cousin away from his dad. My uncle's work found out and had him arrested. He had to go to jail for 2 years. He told my family and everyone that he got a job abroad and had to leave for a few years so that he could pay for my cousin's lawyers. Everyone in my family still thinks that he went abroad to make extra cash. Only me and his wife know that he was in jail. My cousin is a very successful, well-adjusted, happy man now. He doesn't really remember anything about living with his dad. My uncle says he would do it again 1,000 times if it meant my cousin growing up safe. A guy I worked with ages ago had to go back home frequently to meet with his old boss. Whatever, no big deal. Then one time when he came to the bar with us, he started being weird, talking about time in prison, but wouldn't divulge why he went. Restaurant staff don't always have spot-free records, so nothing too out of the ordinary. But I got curious, and the internet is my friend. Turns out that his old boss was his parole officer, and he went to jail for possession of child porn. He also molested his neighbor's kids, like all of his neighbor's kids, and served close to 20 years for it. I'm all for giving people a second chance, but when he started trying to hang out with a couple of the underage hostesses, and one of the servers mentioned he offered to babysit, I felt obligated to bring it up to our GM. He was fired. Fast forward about 1 to 2 years, I randomly see him walking into a local drugstore. I was on the phone with my mom, waiting to get off the phone with her before I went in. Less than 3 minutes later he comes walking out with a little black girl. He's white. I don't know why, but I felt icky instantly. Said I had to go, hung up on my mom, called 911 and followed him in my car, still on the phone with dispatch, until an officer caught up and pulled him over. I never found out what happened, didn't want to know really, but a friend of mine, who he worked with at another place at the time, said he didn't show up for work one day and never heard from him again.
Like and subscribe for more funny, interesting, and scary r/ask Reddit videos.